Hello everyone, and now welcome to Game 3 in a series between Nerchio and Empire's Show. I'm just going to call them Zerg and Protoss from now on. I do apologize. I don't know if this is a best of 3 series or not, and whether or not they just uploaded the replays out of order. Some people say, well, why don't I just fix the order in terms of how I post them on YouTube? Well, the problem is I do reference other games because it is important to point out what players do in terms of psychology and what the strategies will be. We can see that the red Zerg over here on the bottom right-hand side of the map, meanwhile the blue Protoss on the top right-hand side of the map. This is going to be Entombed Valley, as we are looking into a Forge Fast expansion once more. Now, I am curious as to why this one particular probe is scouting out in this direction. I believe this is a north-south spawn only. You cannot actually spawn directly left or right of your opponent. You're going to see one Overlord making its way to the top left, this drone most likely making its way to the top right, and that means that Nerchio, who is scouting out a little bit later, will actually find his opponent faster. There you have it, the drone now making its way in. Actually, no, the drone going the same direction as that Overlord. This Overlord just setting itself off, making sure that he is in the proper location. That drone going to make its way up and then come back down. As we see the drone comes over here, realizes there's no buildings, and most likely his opponent is spawning off over here. Now, if somehow the Protoss had set up in the top left-hand side of the map and was going for a 4-gate, that would have been a really, really interesting strategy, as Nerchio would then perhaps be a bit behind. Nerchio is setting up his spawning pool. Now we are going to be seeing this probe make its way up the ramp. We should already be spotting a drone making its way down, but where is that hatchery? Oh, what is this? Hatchery evolution chamber here at the natural expansion. So Nerchio using a bit of old school tactics. If you guys didn't catch that in time, what that evolution chamber does is it is now a ticking time bomb. This evolution chamber is actually taking damage because it is not on creep. And because of that, eventually when this evolution chamber does bleed to death, it will spawn a whole bunch of broodlings. Coming back over here, the Zerglings are going to now prevent this one pylon from being built, and this is a rather large strategy to delay. You can see it is forcing double photon cannons, and the question will also be who is going to be able to set up their natural expansion first, and it will be Nerchio ever so slightly. Nerchio now with a whole bunch of broodlings coming out will deal some damage to these photon cannons, but really nothing of significance, as the photon cannon does have shields, and that will slowly regenerate. So a little bit of special tactics coming in there. Zerglings now wandering around. There's still a probe hiding off here, and does he know where that particular probe is? There it is. There's the probe now being revealed. The probe now trying to get away. Will he be able to return back home? The probe wants to do a bit of scouting first, will spot this one hatchery, and then do a very wide turn, and oh, I believe that probe's days are numbered. Let's see, is it going to be able to regenerate some shields? Oh, nope, it will not. Now, let's take a look at the strategies and what the Protoss player will be trying to do. He is sitting at decent saturation or heavy saturation already at the main base, already rallying probes down here to the natural. Meanwhile, Gateway, Cybernetics Core, this probe, is it going to try to set up a 4th base? No, where is this probe going? The probe is going a very roundabout way of trying to get inside his opponent's base. You can see he is attempting to set up a proxy pylon here, and by setting up a proxy pylon here, he will be able to warp in units without his opponent getting any information. Now, this may be perhaps a 2-base 6-gate, which would catch his opponent off guard, especially as this base down over here would be very much exposed to any sort of warp-in attacks from this particular high ground here. Zerglings now making the move out across the field. You're going to see perhaps the Zerglings are not going to be able to get inside at all. Stalker taking a look around, trying to shoot down this Overlord, but I believe this Stalker is going to have better days, as a sea of Zerglings will now get into position and surround that Stalker there. All right, so there you go. Poor Stalker. One Zergling gets taken out. always happy to trade one Zergling for one Stalker. The probe now making its way up. We'll be setting this proxy pylon down here in just a moment. And yes, it is going to be a 6-gate 2-base off of here, and now warp gate tech is about to complete. Nerchio sitting at 54 supply, a huge supply advantage as the pylons are now finally warping in. Drones are coming into play. You can see not very heavy saturation here, only 12 probes currently mining down at this location as we are going into Stalkers in this position. All right, Stalkers are in position. Are they going to perhaps shoot down Zerglings and some Overlords? This could potentially be a huge upset, as there's already a decent amount of units. Spine crawlers now being added. Queen trying to engage. Is it going to try to back away? Yes, it is going to try to back away, but a lot of damage already being dealt. One spine crawler going to get canceled in time. Drones now getting taken down. Natural regeneration causing a little bit of problems as the Queen should get focused down here. No, going after drones instead, and now going to take down a spine crawler as well. You can see reinforcements, zealots causing problems as right now, even though the Protoss has a smaller supply count, has a much larger army, it would appear. Yes, a much larger army here, as the drones are now trying to make their way out. This hatchery will be falling, and Nerchio perhaps really upset at just the brilliance of the Protoss play here, setting up and going for a 6-base or 6-gate attack off of 2 bases. That is a lot of zealots. That is a lot of stalkers. Sentries are now being added. This pylon most likely will just get canceled. They're buying a little bit of time and now re-warping in once more. Stalker now backing away. The roaches do not have that movement speed upgrade. That is important to note as spine crawlers. There's the force field preventing any more units coming from down the ramp, and that is potentially going to be game-changing. Roaches now down, stuck on the low ground here, and a beautiful strategy by the Protoss, focusing down the roaches one at a time. Are we going to perhaps see another force field come in? The roaches are now able to muster enough of a counterattack. The spine crawler is up. Units do need to back off as we now see more stalkers coming in again. All right, the roaches going up against all of these units. The spine crawlers, is it going to get focused down? Oh, it is going to get focused down finally, as the stalkers now backing away, getting in a little bit more damage. Perhaps some more units will be coming in as well, as the sentry is going to try and force field the ramp once more. There you have it. But there is a good number of roaches already down on the low ground. Overlords now getting shot down. Reinforcements, where are they coming from? Nerchio now with the superior army, and I believe inferior economy, though, as we are now going into the glial reconstitution. We have tech to tier 2, and poor larvae are gonna go splat. Come on, are we? Oh, there goes one. Oh, let's go back here. Stalkers now trying to back away. Zerglings unable to chase. The Zerglings actually do not have metabolic boost yet. Roaches are now coming in, as Zealots are now making a move to perhaps finish off this hatchery. The Zealots do catch sight of this. Zerglings are falling relatively quickly, but a sea of roaches swarming in already. Stalkers now looking to make another move, perhaps catch a couple units. There goes an Overlord, and now some drones. Drones now just getting taken down, picked off one at a time. Beautifully done. But now the roaches are now looking to come in. They are going to come in with a very good flank, and those Stalkers will all get shut down. All right, Nerchio, I think a little bit premature in terms of his confidence right now. His income is actually behind his opponent. 40 drones compared to 49 probes. The Stalkers will be able to retreat again, as the roaches are just going to catch all of these Stalkers. Let's take a look at the losses. Losses have been pretty even, and the army compositions are now starting to even out a bit more. We are going into Immortals. The Zealots have that 1-0 upgrade, and we are going into a double robotics facility for double Immortals, double the fun. Where is this? Heart of the Swarm. Come on, I can click on a building here, and it takes me to it. All right, let's take a look. Immortal gonna go ahead and take down these rocks in very little time, adding in more gateways, making it pretty much impossible to get in. Perhaps more gateways off here as well, as there is creep being laid down here. Roaches now making a move across the field. That is a lot of roaches. A second Immortal or a third Immortal now being added. There's only one Immortal on the field. That is not going to be good enough to hold off this roach attack, and Nerchio may try to clean this up. Zealots now trying to make their way over there. Some force field catching some of those roaches out of position, and they will all just get taken down. The Immortals should perhaps be focusing down those Roaches. Down it goes. Stalkers now pushing away that Overlord. Overlord will get shot down there. There it goes. Now, let's take a look. Double Immortals. That is going to be a whole bunch of Immortals, and if more Infestors and Roaches are trained up, Nerchio is just relying too much on a single unit. Yes, Roaches are very effective against Gateway units. They do deal a lot of damage, 16 damage per attack against all the Gateway units, but only 10 damage to the Immortal shields. Here you have just how many Immortals are on the field, with 2 more still being trained at a time, and now going into a Warp Prism. Overseer does catch sight of this. Movement speed is rather low. Are they going to be able to back away as the Roaches are still off here? No gateways, no wall off here yet, which does come as a bit of a surprise to me, and we are still waiting on more and more Immortals, adding in some Photon Cannons as well. In comes the Roaches. They're going to walk in, take down a pylon, have no problem whatsoever, and now make their way over. Meanwhile, the Banana Hallway coming across, all the Immortals hiding down the far side, as we do see a whole bunch of units come in here. All right, Photon Cannons trying to take down the Roaches as they're making their way up inside the ramp. Who is going to be able to deal more damage first? And the Warp Prism offering sight up on the high ground may spell problems. There you go, another round of fungal growth, but in comes the reinforcing units. Protoss now unable to warp in any more units as he is now down on pylons. Perhaps we will see some more walls, more probes hiding or trying to come down off over here in just a moment, as we see a base race. Immortals and Zealots pushing their way through. Nerchio with the higher supply count, really strong at this point, taking down many of these units, but is it going to be enough? That Immortal army is rather large, and the Protoss has lost a lot of units, allowing him to warp in more if he needs to. Queens are now making their way over. Queens a good counter to the Immortals, as Spine Crawlers are now rooting themselves in position. There goes another one there. Overlord now making its way in. What's happening? A few Roaches now pushing their way through. Is it going to be enough? As the probes are starting to fight back. Nerchio now losing, Zerg now losing and behind, as the Warp Prisms still reinforcing. Stalkers blindly attacking Overlords as opposed to actually dealing true damage. Drones now making their way back. More Stalkers coming in. Overlords getting shot down. Roaches now making their way over. Another round of drones. Is it going to be enough? There's the force field from behind, making sure no more reinforcements. 1 Roach is all that is left. 2 Stalkers could easily warp in and handle that, and Nerchio has left the game. Protoss beat Protos's Empire Xiao, really coming and just doing a 3-0 victory over Nerchio in this best of 5 series. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it.